All right, everybody, welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
Today we're going to be looking at this idea of freedom,
Okay.
but maybe not freedom in the sense that you normally hear it or think about it.
Right.
So we're going to be going into an article called Freedom Mission. It's by Shawn Wondunna-Foley.
Interesting.
And this article, it takes kind of a different approach to freedom instead of like the usual political economic angle.
Mm.
It really frames freedom as a personal and spiritual journey.
Mm.
And it even ties this idea of freedom to the concept of creating a new earth.
Wow, that's really fascinating.
Yeah, it's pretty intriguing, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I first started reading this piece, what jumped out at me immediately was how it defines freedom.
Yeah, how so?
It goes beyond just having money or time or choices,
Yeah.
right? It's about something deeper.
Uh-huh.
It talks about aligning your life with your inner spirit and the way of the universe.
Right. And that really makes you think, is freedom like about those external things, the circumstances, or is it more about an internal state of being?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah,
And I think the article seems to be leaning towards freedom as this internal thing.
I would agree with that. Yeah. And what do you think the author means by that, aligning with your inner spirit?
Well, that's the thing, right? Inner spirit, that could mean so many different things to different people.
Right.
I mean, for some people, it could be tied to their religious beliefs.
Uh-huh.
For others, it might be about intuition or this really deep sense of purpose, almost like they have this internal compass.
Right.
But I think what the article is getting at is that true freedom comes from understanding and expressing like the essence of who you really are.
Yeah, whatever that might be called for you.
Exactly.
And where does this idea of like the way of the universe fit into all of this?
Yeah, that part.
Yeah.
It gets a little abstract there.
Yeah.
But the way I see it is like this idea of, living in harmony with natural principles.
Whether that's like ethical behavior, connecting with nature, or just pursuing a life that feels right. A life that feels like it's truly you.
Like in sync.
Exactly.
It makes me wonder if you are living that way, if you're aligned with your inner spirit and this way of the universe, does that then naturally fuel passion and purpose, like the article says?
That's a really interesting idea to consider.
Yeah.
I mean, think about times when you felt truly energized,
Yeah.
like really motivated.
Sure.
Were you doing something that felt authentically you? Something that was truly in line with who you are at your core.
Okay.
Because I think that's what the article is suggesting, that by tapping into that inner freedom, it unlocks a drive that comes from within.
Right. Not because someone told you to do it or because society expects it.
Exactly. It's not about external pressures.
So it's not just about feeling good. It's about harnessing that good feeling to actually achieve something meaningful.
I think so, yeah.
And this leads us into the author's vision of a new Earth.
And now we're not talking about like spaceships and colonizing other planets.
Right.
We're talking about like a world transformed by people embracing this kind of freedom.
Right.
So what stood out to you about this vision?
Well, it's interesting because the author is connecting personal transformation to collective change. It's like they're suggesting that as more and more individuals find this inner freedom, it's going to create this ripple effect. And that ripple effect is going to lead to a more harmonious and just world.
Okay.
Now, I know it sounds a little utopian.
It does.
But it does make you think about the relationship between, individual action and societal change.
Yeah.
Do you think that's too optimistic, or could there be something to that?
I see where you're coming from. It does sound idealistic, I'll admit.
Sure.
But what if everyone really was living in alignment with their values?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that impact everything, from how we treat each other to how we interact with the planet?
I mean, that's a big if, right?
Sure.
But that is the core of what the author is arguing.
Yeah.
And you know what I find particularly fascinating?
What's that?
This idea that freedom isn't something that we earn or receive. It's actually a birthright. It's inherent to our being.
Yeah.
And that's a huge shift in perspective.
It is. It really challenges the way we normally think about freedom, right?
Exactly.
Because if it's already ours, then why aren't we all experiencing it?
Right.
Is it a matter of like claiming it like the article suggests?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
And I think that is the heart of this whole freedom mission that the author is talking about.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that inherent freedom and then making choices that align with it.
So it's a call to action.
Yeah, it is.
To live authentically.
Yes,
Yeah.
to express your true self.
And to contribute to a world where freedom is the foundation for everything.
Exactly.
So what does that actually look like, practically?
Right.
What's one small step that someone listening to this could take today to start aligning with this vision of freedom?
It might sound simple, but I think it starts with self-reflection. Take a moment to really consider what truly matters to you.
Okay.
What brings you joy? What are your core values?
Right.
And once you have a clearer sense of that inner compass, you can start making choices that are in line with it.
So those choices could be small,
Yeah, absolutely.
or they could be huge life changes.
Exactly. Like it could be as simple as saying no to something that, drains your energy, or it could be as big as pursuing a passion that you've been putting off.
It's a great point because sometimes we get so caught up in what other people expect of us
Yes.
that we lose sight of what actually drives us,
Yeah.
what actually brings us joy.
It happens to all of us.
So to kind of sum up what we've talked about today, we've explored this really fascinating idea of freedom as an inner journey, a source of passion and purpose,
Right.
and potentially even this catalyst for creating a better world.
It's a powerful concept.
It is, and the article definitely offers a very unique perspective.
I agree.
It definitely leaves us with a lot to think about.
For sure.
And I think that's the point.
Yeah.
So if freedom really is our birthright, what are you doing to claim it in your own life?
Good question.
What kind of impact could embracing this type of freedom have on the world around you? We really hope this deep dive is giving you some things to think about, and we encourage you to continue exploring these questions.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
See ya. Bye.